Joe here from Action X. Welcome to Let Joe Talk, or welcome back. Hope everything's going well. It's kind of a weird another time capsule for me. I'm recording this before the switch up for a bit in terms of the next week of the content. I'll be I'm recording two Let Joe Talks back to back. So this is being recorded in March, so this is, I think, when this is being released, will be, like, the quickest in terms of, like, release. Usually it's, like, a month or so, like, when I film and then when it's uploaded. Like, the upload schedule is very weird because I record these episodes fairly ahead of time and I release them when I feel like they're ready to go. But we are approaching the end of the first course, so expect a lot of, finality before we jump into April. So anyway, before we get to that, let's get to this week's topic. We're talking about college. And the main question, which it's become very apparent in my life lately because of people that ask me this question and people that I associate myself with. The main question is it okay to skip college? Now, I am a college graduate. I finished college technically a couple months ago. So I'm currently done. But however, a lot of people that I've known, because here's the thing, as you get older, not everyone's going to be in your same age range. Some friends I have are way older than me. Some friends are, like, around my age. Most of my friends are, like, exactly my age. And then some of them are, like, very younger than me. So they're all in very different stages of life. And I still talk about college with them since they're still in college. They're still figuring that out. They're still finishing up their degrees. And, it's kind of weird to be on the other side of it where I'm not in classes anymore. I'm not, doing all that anymore. So it's a different world for me right now, especially since we're coming out of this pandemic. Well, not into, like, we're finished with it, simply, as we're approaching now the latter half of it. So, back to the main question, is it okay to skip college? Because I had a conversation recently with someone about the question, like, is it okay to skip? And I think I would have loved for someone to tell me this back when I was in high school. It is perfectly okay not to go to college. It is perfectly okay. Now, of course, obviously, everyone has different family growing up in terms, and also having different friends that you're growing up with. And I feel like at the end of the day, you should not be pressured by anyone. No friend, no random stranger, no internet, no family. You shouldn't be pressured to do anything. You should have the total transparency of your own belief to go to college if you so please. I can safely say college was not for me. As much as I would have loved to have a different college experience, I had a very basic traditional experience where I went to classes, I did my classes, I made a few friends, I maybe attended one party, and then that's it. I did not do much of the fraternities or the big college events, or I didn't go to, like, a lot of parties. I didn't get to do any of those big, like, epic college things you would see in movies. I didn't get to do them. I could safely say I did not care to do them because that's just not me as a person. Because when you go to college, you have a fairly different set of expectations. Where growing up for me, in terms of, like, what I watched, college would mean you're moving out of your parents' house, you're going to stay in a dorm for most of the time, you're probably going to get overweight, you're probably going to be very awkward in your first years trying to figure out what the frick to do, and, that's kind of like your first taste into adulthood. Like, you're alone, you're not trying, you're trying things by yourself for the first time, and I really did not have that option because I in high school was not academically inclined to do very well, so I didn't receive that many scholarships. My financial aid was fairly limited, so I could have technically afforded to go to a out-of-state college. The risk being, like, if something goes wrong with financial aid or the scholarships don't work, I would have to basically find a way to travel back to where I live in New York to recoup and, like, return home, where if it's better for me if something does happen, I could just basically lie to my parents and still go to college. And I'm sort of basing that off the personal experience because I did have a little bit of an issue like that in my sophomore year. So I did not want to do that for out-of-state. That seemed like way too much work. As well as, speaking of work, I could not have worked. My college experience was beginning my work career. My work life. I started working a lot. I worked at a McDonald's. I worked at another private packing facility for 2 years. Well, McDonald's I worked for 5 months, and then private packing facility for 2 years, and now I currently work at a supermarket for now going into 3 years. So I am very grateful I had the opportunity to work. And there have been moments where I would have just generally would have, I love to work. I want to do something and get paid for it. I'm very much like that type of person. I just like earning money. Now, I understand that, like, now going back to the question, is it okay to not to go to college? I feel like it depends on what you want. I mostly care about, at the moment growing up, making money, because I love having my economic freedom from my parents, where growing up from ages 1 to maybe about 13 in terms of the kid stage, even 18 up to like just very specific points, my parents would bankroll everything. Like, they would pay for my DVDs, they would pay for any food I wanted to do, any events I wanted to do outside. Like, everything came out of their pocket. I distinctly remember, as an example for how far my parents went for me, is that we were shooting a pilot for a show when we were doing production back in the day, and we only had 1 day of official filming. We never did it, like, we had 1 official day of filming, a production. We never went beyond that because we just lost the motivation to do so. But how dedicated my parents were is that my dad actually spent almost $200 in catering. I.e., he bought a bunch of chicken from a supermarket. We made some rice, some French fries, and we fed the whole cast and crew. That was how far my dad was willing to care for me. And then as I grew up, I started realizing that I can't just depend on my parents anymore, because I was getting older. I wanted to have my own economic freedom. The summer before my senior year of high school, I tried getting a summer job, and ironically, I did not get a call back until literally weeks before I started to go back to school. So my parents just said, don't do it, because you got to focus on your studies. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So, but as soon as I graduated high school, as soon as I did that, I immediately started looking for a job. Like, sure, yeah, college was something I wanted to do, but I really wanted a job. I wanted to start making my own money. And I found one, and then I didn't really like the job. I actually hated the job. We'll probably do an episode of the podcast someday where we talk about our first job experiences, so I'll save those stories for that. But then when I got my first real proper job, I loved it in terms of the work, my life, my schedule, and then just the money I made. And then, I started, like, eventually getting my own. I started doing my own things. I started continuing the DVD collection on my own. I started, like, the Funko collection and everything, Amiibos, like, everything I've done, everything in the channel for the last 5 years have been bankrolled by me. I bankrolled everything. And I love making money. I do eventually, but here's the thing about it. Like, eventually, the thing is that when it comes to a job, because there's a difference between a job and a career. A job is basically something you want to do at the moment. It's something you're preoccupying your time to make some quick money. It doesn't have necessarily to do anything with your future. Half of the time, there are people who eventually work at a job to become a career. Working your way up the management ladder, eventually becoming a manager without even having the requisites sometimes to be qualified for it, but you get it because they trust you. You worked at that company for many years, so you have loyalty, and they want to promote you with that loyalty. And again, sometimes, especially now in COVID time, sometimes that goes downhill because they can't afford it, and then you lose your livelihood. So that's one of the downsides to, at least me, on the point of saying you can go straight to the work field and start working. But the problem is that the job market is very, very tight right now. And even going to college is still like a big iffy, because what do you want to do? I have a friend, George is in the writing circuit. I have another friend but I have 2 friends that are in the science field. One is in a different criminal justice field. So it's like everyone's a different corner. And the thing is that when you go to college, you have to compete. That's the thing. You have to do your best, and you have to do the right things to get noticed and to inevitably get a job, because you need to live. You need to live somewhere. You need to pay your food. You need to get clothes. You need to do the basic essential. So you need money. And having a job is good. You're still getting money, but it depends where you live. I've rarely seen a job pay for everything. Like, maybe if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner or maybe roommates, you could afford a life on a job. But the thing about every job is that inevitably you just get a little bit tired out by it. You feel burned out. And yeah, you take your vacations and then you eventually get recuperated, but that doesn't even last that long. For me, I'm speaking this of experience. Like, this is the reason I went to college, is because I want to explore my horizons. I have multiple paths right now to where I want to go in my future. I'm still waiting for this pandemic to be mostly over so I can start focusing on my future again. Because right now I'm in a couple different directions where I want to take my life. But when I was back in college, at my first real job, for the first year I loved it. I love working in that job. I was making friends. I was beginning to like broaden my social horizons. I was beginning to make a lot of money, and I was feeling happy. And then second year two began, and I started going downhill. Like, this was becoming monotonous. I was not being happy. The environment was changing. The team were changing, and I was feeling very left out. And yeah, sure, obviously, of course, like, you shouldn't feel it. It's just a job, but that's just me as a person. Like, I need to be happy to go somewhere to make that money. And then just a circumstance happened. I left that job, and now my current job, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm beginning to feel it too. There are moments where like I want to quit, and sometimes I don't want to quit. Sometimes I do. I'm very honest on that. I can be very open and say that I very much would like to leave at points, and then sometimes I would not like to leave at some points. But it's already a sign that maybe my time there could be coming to an end. But then I have to start. But if I go to another job, that's probably gonna be another 2-3 year commitment for me. And then on the other chance, I'll just be punting the inevitable, getting back into where I want to go in my future. Like, what do I want to do? And I was very grateful for college to give me that opportunity. Well, I went to a private university, but I'm just saying college in a very general, broad term. I very much love that experience because I was able to figure things out. Like, who is the type of person I want to be, and what am I going to do for my future. College, my university experience gave me that chance to kind of figure things out. I still have things to figure out. I'm not saying the university is the 100% my decision, like, you know, in terms of like me going after. But at the same time is that, and this is cuts back to another episode I did back in season 3 of this show about the whole student debt thing, forgiveness thing. A lot of people are in student debt. So, and some of the times they don't even do anything with their degrees. Like, they go to a whole different other avenue, but they waste their time in those 4 years where maybe they could have made advantage in whatever they ended up doing in that case. And I'm thinking, considering the loans I have right now, which I won't get into those details, but I'm thinking like maybe I should have just done my associates and just, you know, punt it out. I could have done that. And maybe come back down the line when like maybe I had paid off those loans and like, okay, I can go again. I can go another 2 years to get my bachelor's. I could have done that, but I didn't think like that because no one advised me. And even I had a mentor for my last year of college, and you know they didn't really help me out. No offense to them, we were just very different in the work schedule because I worked, I go to school, I also do the YouTube stuff on the side. It's difficult. My life is very difficult, and I guess I choose to make it difficult. I don't have to do YouTube. I don't have to do my extracurricular. I don't have to play video games. I can just focus my time on work and school and my friends. But I don't want to, because at the end of the day, and this is kind of the answer to this question, I want to do what makes me happy and what I want to do. It's my choice, and my choice was to go to college. I made a couple great friends from college that I will cherish for the rest of my life, and I have no regrets on that. But as well as the same time, like, well, I could have maybe done something different, maybe not go to college and save my economic future. I could have done that, and I won't say how the whole the student loan forgiveness is going to do. I can't say anything about that right now because that's not the episode. But I would have liked the chance for someone to tell me like, you could just do 2 years and that would be fine. I could have done that. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't. If you have a best friend, which I do, that's like over succeeding, does everything by the book, and is a very academic, hardworking being, you don't have to be like them. You don't. You don't have to be compared to someone else because everyone's different. Just because someone's like way more successful than you right now, they have an apartment, they have a job, they're like doing really good financially. Like, okay, yeah, I get that, but the other thing at the end of the day is that, well, that's them. They have their own path. They did their own things. They're not you. You don't have to follow someone else's example. You can be inspired and you can take some advice or some pointers from that. But at the end of the day, you're the one making your own path. So you don't have to go to college if you don't want to. If you shouldn't get forced by your parents. You shouldn't get forced by anyone else. You should not. It's your choice. And I tell this to my sister now, like, do what makes you happy. If you want to do college, okay. If you don't want to do college, great. But you still need to do something with your time. Because it's either you gotta work or you gotta go to school at this very crucial age from the 18 to 24-year-old bracket. You have to work or you have to go to school. You can't do nothing. Yeah, of course, obviously, I know TikTokers, I know YouTubers, I know all the big, social media pushes. Like, I get that. I know that's another avenue you could explore. But generally speaking, that's still working. You have to work on that, and you have to, like, constantly put effort into inevitably turn a result. So, I mean, and same with school. Like, you have to put an effort to turn a result, which in that case would be a diploma. But I'm just saying at the end of the day, it is perfectly okay for you not to go to college. It's okay. If you're under 18 and you're watching this video, you're like asking yourself, can I go to college? Like, if you want to go to college, know everything going into it. How much is the school you're affording? How many years you have to invest in it? What's your career plan after that? And I know that sounds scary. Believe me, I was scared shitless before those moments. Believe me, I was that same person. But the thing I would have loved to have done back before that is knowing how things would have turned out. Knowing that you're probably going to be in tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. Are you prepared to pay that back? Are you prepared to have a plan to take that back? You need to have some semblance of a plan, to make that back. And as well as know your conditions, know your environments. If you have supporting parents that are willing to put up with you for longer than when you're 22, take that opportunity. It is okay. I currently do that. I have a lot of friends that are still living with their parents right now because they know, like, financially, they still need more time to get to that point of independence or figuring things out. It is perfectly okay. It is fine. Do not worry about that. But at the end of the day, you need to be happy whatever you're doing. And if you feel happy going to university or college to have that experience, that is great. That is fine. You go. But if you don't feel happy, if you don't want to do it, and you don't feel satisfied, it is okay to say no. I don't want to go. I want to go to the job market. I want to learn a trade. That is perfectly fine. Everyone is different. You don't have to follow. You don't. It's the same thing with everything, like in your opinions, in politics, in your lifestyle. It is okay to be different. Not everyone has to be the same. Everyone has their own different path for their future. It is perfectly okay. So don't worry. So hopefully that helped someone out there. But let me know in the comments below. Did you go to college or did you not go to college? Did you just let me know in the comments? I would love to talk with people, get that experience from them. I would love to know. But I think that's going to do it for me tonight, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been Let Joe Talk from ActionX. If you want to see more of Let Joe Talk, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode is live, which is usually each and every Wednesday afternoon. Like, favorite, share this episode if you want to. It is free and it does help us get us out there to other people in the YouTube landscape. Help us with the algorithm, as I like to say. And plus, again, it's free to share. Follow us on Twitter to be up to date with any updates for the channel. Follow us on Twitch if you want to hear us streaming. And I'll see you all hopefully down the road or next week. Peace out.